Alright, so I think we can all agree that last year was a pretty decent year for video games. I mean, we saw the comeback of Crash Bandicoot, there were a bunch of great indie games, and I was personally reminded why I love Japanese games so much. My favourite game of last year, or at least the one I had the most fun with, was The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It was the big send-off game for everyone's favourite meme, the Wii U, and it was the big launch game for everyone's favourite Fire tablet, the Switch. Yeah, this game's been talked about a fair bit by now, but I still don't feel like enough people have properly credited what is, to me at least, its defining feature. The way the game makes learning fun. If you were to ask most people what the favourite part of video games are, they'd probably say gameplay or story or some shit, but I doubt any of them would say learning. Because most people don't associate games with learning, they associate them with fun, and to a lot of people learning just isn't fun, or at least it doesn't seem fun. Which is kind of weird, because learning is such an essential part of playing video games. I mean, it's a way for the player to develop an understanding of a game's mechanics, or the world that they're stepping into. Today we're going to take a look at how Zelda does a brilliant job at making learning fun for the player, and how I think other games could learn from it. So, the game begins with our boy Link waking up in a bathtub confused wearing nothing but his undies, establishing himself as a relatable character. Then you're in control, so you get up, put some clothes on, jog outside, and you're greeted by this gorgeous view of Hyrule. What I love about this game's opening is that it doesn't waste your time. Like, you start learning really useful shit in the first few seconds of gameplay. The first thing you do is open a chest, but there's no 10-second cutscene like in the previous 3D Zelda games. It's like the 2D ones where you open a chest, get the item and move on. Then you get to see armor stats, the user interface and the stamina system, and this is all before you've even stepped outside. The pace of learning and the way you're taught things isn't patronizing nor is it overwhelming. It's quick, it's effective and it's engaging. Then there's the warm, inviting glow of the sunrise, which made me feel so comfortable. A lot of people get a bit wet for water physics in games, but sunrises and sunsets really do that for me. Like, I'm from England, where I live it just constantly pisses down, so I don't get to see many good sunrises or sunsets, so when a game has a good one, whew, it gets instant bonus points from me. Like, that's some good shit right there. This cinematic view of Hyrule isn't just a way for Nintendo to show off their fancy draw distances, it's a way for them to show the player that this world they're in is huge and waiting to be explored. Basically, it gives you something to look forward to. I can clearly remember my first time playing and seeing Hyrule Castle in the distance and immediately wanting to go there. Now, sure, you can't go there straight away, there's a giant wall stood in the way of you in true freedom until you complete a kind of tutorial, but this is just for the player to learn the basics in a relatively safe environment until they're ready to face the real world and become legends. Either way, I think the opening does a good job at pulling the player into the world and giving them a reason to stick around. I feel like a lot of open world games struggle to implement tutorials and not have the player feel like they're playing a tutorial. Like, The Witcher 3 is an amazing game, but when I'm playing the tutorial, it just feels like I'm going through the motions. Like, I have a list of chores that I've got to do before I'm allowed to play outside. And whilst I appreciate that CD Projekt added the option for it to be skippable, I don't think I should want to skip such an important part of the game. And in Zelda, I didn't. The Great Plateau is, in my non-critic opinion, great. It's a small bite-sized version of the rest of the game, but it's no less enjoyable. You only have to do 3 things: find a tower, complete 4 shrines, and speak to Gandalf, and that's it. You can do everything else whenever you want, or not at all. It's rare to see a game give you this level of freedom in a tutorial, and I think this is what sets Breath of the Wild apart from its competition. Simply having freedom in a game isn't really a good thing if you can't do anything meaningful with that freedom. Like, look at No Man's Sky. In that game you have the freedom to do anything you want, but you don't want to do anything because almost everything you're doing is either boring or broken or just No! In a tutorial, the player is learning how to play the game, so everything they do has a purpose. You're always learning something new, so having that freedom to learn at a pace you feel comfortable with makes that learning experience much more enjoyable. Now this counts as much for the quote-unquote casual gamers as much as it does for the hardcore. Some players might not want to fight this guy straight away, so they can leave and come back whenever they feel ready. But the true MLG pro gamer legends might see this as no big deal, it's whatever, but then they get absolutely destroyed because this game's hard as fuck. I love how there's no companion character too, like Midna was kind of cool, but the lanky smurf and Skyward Sword was about as useful as a chocolate condom. Giving the player some breathing room to just learn things on their own greatly benefits the overall experience. It not only adds to that sense of freedom, but it's really satisfying to know that you killed an enemy because you learned how to do it just by playing the game. It's the kind of design that's more commonly found in classic games like Super Metroid, Megaman X, or basically any Valve game except this one. But nowadays it's becoming increasingly rare to see a game that effectively teaches you through gameplay instead of tons of text boxes or some annoying AI companion character. What I'm trying to say is that I think The Great Plateau is a brilliant tutorial because it gives you the freedom to learn how you want by leaving room for experimentation. Now this is kind of obvious, but every game has different design goals, so those goals are going to be met in different ways depending on the type of experience the developers want to provide. So it'd be kinda stupid for me to say that every game should just be like Zelda, but I do think some developers could look at its approach to teaching the player and maybe take a few notes so they could do something sick in their games. I'd love to see more developers get creative with tutorials and try to make them fun or even a bit novel by doing things a little bit differently. If a game relies on text or dialogue to teach the player, then make it funny or even break the fourth wall like Ghost Trick or Far Cry Blood Dragon. If you want the player to learn through interactivity, then put them in a unique situation so that learning basic mechanics is a lot more memorable. Like how you learn basic movement controls in Portal 2 by doing a physical and mental wellness exercise, or how you do stealth in Shadow of Mordor by sneaking up on your wife to give her some flowers. And these are just a few examples. I'm sure there's a bunch of other ways that learning can be made much more enjoyable, or at least much more interesting. With Breath of the Wild's massive critical and commercial success, I think it's obviously going to be a big inspiration for developers in the future. So if they take away anything from this game, I hope it's that learning can be used as a valuable tool to draw the player into the world and keep them invested. At least, that's what I think. Hey, I just wanted to say a big thank you to you guys for waiting on a video for this long. It blows my fucking mind that more of you haven't left, so thanks. I've been working on a lot of new stuff and this video is just a small part of that, so I hope you liked it, and if you want to support the channel even more, then you know what to do. Anyway, thanks for sticking around, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.